with the first pick in the 2023 NFL Draft.
Good evening and welcome back to another episode of the Blitz and Kick podcast, where we bring you all things football all the time. I'm your host, Brad.
And I'm Kyle.
And we are here with an under the radar episode. We've not done one for a while. General Kyle, we're looking for more prospects for the upcoming draft, but we're running out of quality players for teams to look at in late rounds.
Deploy the radar.
Sir, there's no extra players.
Prepare the submarine. We must look under the radar.
Submarine deployed, sir. Prospects loading on the monitor now. Let me pull them up, sir.
Well, it looks like we have one right now. He's a big one. Kamon Rucker, linebacker / edge from North Carolina. He's a senior. He's 6'2", 265. Had an incredible year last year. About 15 tackles for loss, 8.5 sacks. He has about 22 in his career. He was hurt this last year, so didn't really get a chance to shine. Didn't really get a chance to kind of extend his great 2023 year into an even better 2024 year. He's certifiably strong, low center of gravity. He's small, but he's tough. He's bendy. He can get around the edge. He can be a situational pass rusher at the beginning of his career, but I think he has the tools to become an every down player. And if you're watching live with us here, I mean, he's a dog. He's a certifiable dog. He's got that edge to him, that motor, that nastiness. He's willing to stick his nose in the run. I mean, look at him. I mean, he's a nasty dude. And definitely an under the radar guy that I think teams would be happy with getting later in the rounds. Maybe like a day 3 kind of guy.
Agreed. Sir, another player loading on the screen, pulling it up now. Ooh, Curtis Rourke. This was my choice. You know, lots of people really want to talk about the fact that, you know, some quarterbacks just have that X factor. But, Kyle, we've seen a lot of success for guys that don't need that X factor. They're good for the sake of being good. Like, they don't really need to be more than that. When I think of, like, kind of a classic game manager guy that's pretty accurate, doesn't really do anything, like, super well. But, look, consistency is an overlooked QB factor. That's something that we look for in fantasy. It's something we look for every week. It's something we look for when we're sitting there and saying, hey, who are we throwing on our waiver wire? This is lazy, but I think, you know, one of the best people that is a game manager is Brock Purdy. And if you can throw a game manager in a pretty stacked offense, most of the time it works. And, you know, he's not a gunslinger by any means, but a game manager that can get the ball where they need to get the ball quickly can be a good thing. So, yeah, Curtis Rourke is a good player for that. Let me pull up another prospect. One's loading on the screen, sir. Let me pull that for us.
Charles Grant, 4-year starter. He's played a lot of football. My screen just went black a little bit. There it is. Played a lot of football at William & Mary. Listen, he hasn't played in the big college game yet, but that's okay. He has over a 7-foot wingspan. He's played in 11 games in 2021, and he started over 35 games the last 3 years. Yes, he doesn't play at the highest level, but he has all the tools, all the athleticism, the length to be a premier tackle in the league. If he can get in the right situation with the right coach and the patience and all the tools that the coaches have to offer, he could be a long-term starter at tackle or guard. Listen, if Jordan Mailata can come from rugby and in 2 years be a great tackle, this guy has already so much experience, and he has all the athleticism, the tools, the length that people covet. I think early on, he's going to be one of those road graders, those movers, guys that you can get out in space. But, functional strength, technique, those are things that it can get better. I think if a team takes a swing on him, don't expect him to be a beast right away. Because again, William and Mary, it's kind of hard to make that jump. But with a year and a half experience, like he could start right away.
And a lot of the buzz with NFL teams right now is that he may actually move inside to guard, which I think might work because if I remember correctly, I'm pulling up our notes here. I'm pretty sure he has a little bit shorter arms, which is okay. That's fine. You and I have talked before. If you have the talent and you have that dog mentality, it doesn't matter how big your arms are. It's okay because I know LSU boy has the same problem. Will Campbell has the same problem. Short arms, but it is what it is. I think he's still going to go high because of that. But if he moves inside to guard, he might actually make a case to go day 2, I think, instead of day 3, because I think he could be a day 3 guy. Another player coming up on our radar, sir, pulling it now, is JJ Pegues. That's right. This one's really interesting. I am shocked nobody is talking as much as I thought they were going to talk about him. So I think it's obvious he's a gadget player. We're going to see a lot of highlights here of him playing D tackle because that's his primary role. But when he started his career at Auburn, he did start as a tight end. He still gets used as a tight end in that offense. And sometimes he gets put in a fullback position. I think teams are just scared because we've seen busts before that do this. For those of you that are really big draft people, think Laquan McGowan from Baylor. He had the same kind of thing. Could be all kinds of, just an athlete kind of player instead of a specific role. And I think people are nervous about that. But honestly, if you can't get Tyler Warren, I wouldn't mind picking up JJ Pegues because suddenly you get a guy that can pass rush. And you get basically a poor man's Tyler Warren. You can kind of throw him wherever. Maybe not quite as quick or as nimble, but and there it is right there. You can kind of just see like he's just got a knack for the ball on both sides of and he ran Wildcat there. It's again just a poor man's Tyler Warren. Teams should be more intrigued about him, and I don't know if they're worried about. It's probably the Travis Hunter thing. They're just worried about how do we classify him. Is he a tight end? Do we classify him as a D tackle? I don't know. What do you think about JJ Pegues?
Oh, I think, don't quote me on this, but I'm pretty sure he had a better pass rush win rate than Mason Graham did this past year.
That's possible.
So, yes, he's definitely his technique is not all there, right? He's not the biggest guy that you're going to see, right? Like he's quick, he's nimble. If he can do tight end things, he's probably not a beast of a D tackle on the interior, but pass rush is important. I mean, so if you think about it this way, if a team really values him as, like a flex guy or a tight end or a fullback, whatever, like he most definitely could do both. He could be a special teams player, he could be a fullback, and he could be in there on pass rush downs. I think you take a swing on this guy, and maybe you do just put him at one position. I mean, it's obviously if he can do all those things, he's a supreme athlete. So all teams just have to do is tap into that and then get him motivated on one position if that's what they want to do. And those freaky DTs can change a whole outlook of your defensive line.
Mm-hmm. I like it. Another player coming up on the radar, sir.
Next up, we have it's Kyle Williams there from Washington State. Listen, he dominated the Senior Bowl. Elite production the last 2 years, over 2,000 yards, 20 touchdowns. He tested well, ran a 4.4 flat. He's quick. He's a separator. He's a run after catch guy. Okay, yes, he does have some issues with some concentration drops, and he didn't play in the greatest division, conference, whatever you want to call it, no doubt. But I think if you watch him here like we are doing right now, if you can get him in space, if you can get him with a free release, he could be a slot guy. And Think of Amon-Ra St. Brown for right now. He was a 4th-round draft pick, okay? One of the best receivers in the game we have right now. Khalil Shakir, who was a late-round draft pick, slot guy, got paid like $60 million this offseason, okay? So just like the nickel corner is becoming a very important position, so is a slot receiver. And if you can get a guy that has supreme rack ability, can break tackles, can run by people, and can do a lot of different things with the ball in his hands, like if I was like the 49ers, like I'd take him. He's doing stuff that Deebo Samuel would do. And Deebo Samuel is not even a receiver. So like, I think on the right team, on the right fit, like he could have a really good role on an offense.
It's funny that you said Amon-Ra because when I look at his tape like I'm doing right now, I see Jameson Williams, slender, quick, fast, slot guy. It's just funny that you brought up the Lions because the first person I thought of was JMO. Just that big playability, like you said, rack guy. It's one of those guys that you can just throw out a slant. He's going to at least get a first down, if nothing else. He'll be interesting. And I think you and I are both of the opinion of, look, you can still get a receiver in late rounds without banking everything on your first round pick. This is going to be really unfair, but look at Marvin Harrison Jr. in year 1. Like, I don't think it was quite what everyone expected for a first round receiver. And sometimes you can get like a Puka Nacua. You can get a smaller guy from a smaller school that just goes off. I mean, I'm just using Puka as the most recent example, but there's tons of dudes we could pick out. Antonio Brown is one. Like, we could pick a ton of guys that you can get late that are going to be almost better than guys that you invest in early. Tyreek Hill. Yep.
And I don't like Chris Sims at all, by the way. I'll put that out there. But he did have Kyle Williams as his receiver number 2. And I found that out after I put this guy on the list. So make that what you will.
It's nice to get backed up by some industry professionals, isn't it? Sir, I've got another one on the radar, pulling it now. It actually looks to be a running back. Oh, it's Raheem Sanders. Interestingly enough, I need to pull the actual film on this. But you and I, this is not our first time talking about Raheem Sanders on this podcast. We actually had him in our top 100 people ages ago that I think got cut before it made the air, but we still talked about Raheem Sanders. Listen, I know a lot of people are going to say, dude, there's so many other people. There's Jaden Blue, you got Dylan Sampson. Why in the world are you picking Raheem Sanders coming off an injury and then playing halfway decent this year? Because I saw what he could do in 2022. It's the Ollie Gordon thing. I could have put Ollie Gordon here and made the same argument. The problem is Ollie Gordon is not the prototypical NFL size to survive at that size for a long period of time. Yes, I know there's exceptions. Not even going to go there. Just going to stick with this for now. Raheem Sanders, though, he has that prototypical RB build. You see it on a lot of his runs here. He is good about just making the most of every touch he has. And sometimes, Kyle, that is what makes you an RB1 in the NFL. It's not talent. It's about how bad you want it. And he runs. I mean, he doesn't run like Isaiah Pacheco, who runs like an angry toddler.
He runs a little like Leonard Fournette.
A little bit. Strong, quick, decisive.
He reminds me of Fournette a little bit.
If he could improve the productivity on every touch, he honestly could be a 3-down back. And again, his size and speed, it's not perfect, but it's ideal for longevity at the next level. The skinny little dudes that can run like 4,000 yards in high school get to college and get obliterated. This is not that guy. I think people will kind of put a flag on him just because of that injury history that he has. But even coming off of that on a new team and a new offense, he still had 11 touchdowns, which was even better than what he did in 2022 on fewer touches. So, it's not a for sure thing ever with running backs, but I do like him. I think he could do a lot. So that's Raheem Sanders for me. Let me see if there's another one on the radar. It looks like one's coming in now.
Oh, yeah. We have Noel Williams, Cal corner, 6'1", 200. Had 14 interceptions in his career. If you can see, if you're watching live with us, he's a ball hawk. This is Cam Ward trying to throw across the field. Stupid decision, but good luck, Titans, with that quarterback. We're not here to talk about him. Noah Williams, I think he's more of a zone guy. I think he has good enough athleticism. Everybody loves the 4-3 guys, the 4-4 guys. He might not be that fast, and I'm sure you can see that while you're watching on tape. He can sometimes get behind people. But I think that has to do with more technique rather than speed. Richard Sherman ran like a 4.6 or 4.7 at the combine. If he plays in the right system, if he plays in a zone heavy system where he can read the quarterback, he can read the receivers, stay in his zone, trail off a little bit, get his hands up, get his long arms around the football. You can see he has a really good knack for getting the ball, putting his hands on the ball, being around it, and making plays. So, yes, 7 interceptions is kind of atypical. You don't really see that very often. So you might think that's an outlier. But based on his stats alone, pretty consistent at getting his hands on the football. I think he's best when he's reading and he's reacting. I think he could be a steal later in the round, especially, I feel like there's a lot of nickel corners kind of heavier up there in the draft with Jahdae Barron, right? Nick Emenwari's a safety. I don't know about Will Johnson that much. He seems like he's kind of fallen. So prototypical outside corner. I don't think there's a ton of them in this draft. So I think he could be one that if teams are looking for one, he could step up right away.
Yeah. And I think consistency might be the name on this podcast today is, if you can find a guy that's going to go out there and play the same way and the same efficiency every single down, that's going to give you a long NFL career. I don't care if you're a fullback, a corner, it doesn't matter, a punter even. If you can do the same thing every time, coaches are going to love that. And I think you've said it before, and I think the NFL says it. If you can ball, they will find you. And that's kind of the name of the game with this whole episode. All right, I've got another one coming up on the radar, sir. Let me pull him now. Oh, Efton Kism III. Let's get really lazy a little bit. Who else do you know that came from Eastern Washington as a receiver? Little skinny dude, just kind of plowing through people. Didn't get a lot of hype, but ended up going in the 3rd round in 2017 to the Rams. Sound familiar? It should. It's Cooper Kupp. And, again, I think people want to overlook the small school guys, but truthfully, a lot of small school guys have rocked the NFL over the decades. And I don't see him as maybe being exactly Cooper Kupp. I almost like him a little bit better than Cooper Kupp. This is kind of a guy that's more fluid in his positions. If you're looking at some of his tape here, you'll see him come out of the backfield on some. I like that. It's kind of like a poor man's a white version of Deebo Samuels. Look, for a small school, he posted 120 receptions, 11 yards, 13 touchdowns, and was averaging 10.9 yards per reception. Speaking of Rack City, this guy is a resident, and he's fantastic. He could give you the tour. He might be leading Rack City next year as a rookie. But, I mean, he's just got a really good fluidity to his game. He's quick, decisive, knows where to go to find the ball, tracks it down, and then even better, once he has it, he does everything he can to make the most of his possessions. And I think that's why I picked a lot of these guys is they're just not productive, but they want it. And, I've seen it so many times where there's a 5-star recruit, they go to a big school, and then they just disappear and you never see them again because they think they're it and that's it, and they don't have the drive. And I think that's what I like seeing about Efton Kism and some of these plays is he's just willing to go where he needs to go and make it happen. And if you look, there is some, it's lazy, sure, but there is some Cooper Kupp to his game. Absolutely.
Oh,
yeah, I saw that too. And I was like, okay, yeah, I like that. He's tough. I think, again, this could be a day 2, day 3 flyer that ends up being a really productive member of your offense in the slot maybe, or I think he's too small to be an X receiver on the outside, but still. Let me see.
I haven't really done much work on him yet, so
Well, you picked Charles Grant, and I was like, all right, if we're picking small schools, let me dig around. So I watched some film, and I found him, and I was like, oh my gosh, why are we not talking about him? Like, look at him. Like this little skinny white dude out playing like 7 different defenders there. I love it. So we've got another one on the radar. Start pulling it now.
Yes, it's a
Oh,
Vishal Tutin, running back from VT. When I watched him, I kind of saw a little bit of Naheem Hines. Remember him?
yeah.
The weight's a little bit different. Tutin's a little more bulky, a little more weight to him. He can struggle with some fumbles. That's an issue. But listen, Tiki Barber had that issue too with the Giants his first year. He turned out all right. But he's low to the ground. We like that center of gravity. Elite athleticism. He tested really, really well. Nice change of pace back, I think, in the NFL. Maybe a third down type of back. Lots of production at the collegiate level. He had about 1,400 yards in 2022 with a different school. And this last year, he had 15 touchdowns. And he's caught over almost 100 passes in his career. So, like, everything that you kind of want to see from him, besides the fumbles, like, he's done in college.
Very well. Mm-hmm.
So
if you see him scooting, he's tooting.
Yeah. Sure. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Tooting. Definitely. Really good change of pace back, like I said. His cuts are pretty good too. So, like, if you can get a burner like that with the ability to knock over some people, that's a good combo. I mean, like, A-Chain kind of flew under the radar a little bit there, and then he tested out of the waters, and then boom.
Yep.
Like, give him to me on my fantasy team. Like, I love him. So I think if a team picks him like later, it could easily be. Listen, if Amir Abdullah started a game in the NFL, like, give me a break. Someone pick this guy, and he could be a legit starter. So.
Well, and I'm so surprised you didn't say it. I don't know how hard some of our followers follow the draft, but he did post a 4.32 40 time, and that's blistering for his size. And he posted a 1.49 second 10-yard split. Like, look, A-Chain did similar numbers, and look at what A-Chain is doing now. He took over that running back room quickly. Yeah. He has the potential to do the same. I agree with you. I saw it on here and I was like, I mean, if he is under the radar for some of these NFL teams, they're idiots. Anyways, I've got another one coming up here. Let me pull it. It is Ahmed Hassanein, the edge from Boise State. Now, the sad thing is we don't have a whole lot of film on him. But I think Kyle knows exactly where I'm going to go with this. Well, especially because he can read my notes, but still. Listen, besides being a really great story, you can't teach athletics. We have said that 1,000 times. You cannot teach somebody to be an athlete. You can teach them the game. You can teach them strategy, but you cannot teach them how to perform at a high level. And let's be honest, this dude did not start playing football until COVID, and he's playing D1 football at a high level. That's terrifying. That should be horrifying for offensive lines in the NFL, knowing that this guy has a chance to go in. I did not get a chance to add the video of him from the combine where he went up for his cone drill and he was hyped. He got the drill coach hyped. He wants it bad. And who else did we talk about a couple seasons ago, Kyle, from Greece that had just learned football and was playing at a high level from Purdue? I'm going to go ahead and make a really bold statement here and say if he's anything close to George Karlaftis, this is a steal. And all I could think was George Karlaftis when I saw his combine performance, when I saw his story, when I saw how he plays. He's quick. That is a guy that you want on your team. And we liked Karlaftis for that reason. We liked him for that big dog mentality. I think he's going to do it very well at the next level as well. It just sucks that we don't have a ton of tape, and that's going to scare teams.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing is, like, a guy like Odafe Owe, or previously Jason Owe, he had 0 sacks in college. And he didn't start playing football until like his senior year in high school. Mm-hmm. But he showed so much like athleticism on tape, and he showed such like a just really great progression that like teams are willing to bet on that. So if this guy, has really played football and he's racked up 20 sacks in the last 2 years, like, he's doing something right. So
Mhm.
yeah, I like it.
Cool. Last slide. Disclaimer: the Blitz and Kick podcast does not own the rights to the videos within this episode. The content used in this video is intended for educational and informational purposes only. Thought I'd go ahead and cover us. Alrighty, sir. Bringing submarine back up to the surface.
Excellent. Send our findings to the Browns stats. I doubt they can read it, but we have to at least try.
Sending now, sir. Well, that's all we have for this episode. Thanks again for supporting us as always. Guys, I don't know if you saw our post. We have actually celebrated 6 years of podcasting together this month. That's looked very different in many different formats, many different ways, many different things, styles, everything. I will post an anniversary video later on, kind of highlighting some of our best moments. That's going to take a minute because we actually have 162 videos total over 6
Wow.
years. Yeah, we have quite a few videos. Watch out for some other posts from us this week. We're going to post team-specific mocks so that you guys can kind of get jazzed, see what our thoughts are per team. We're going to post them as groups, as divisions. Look out for that. You'll see it. We're also going to share some updates on what the podcast is going to look like, what we're aiming to do. As always, you guys know that we're always making changes to bring you the best and most engaging content for football. As always, like, subscribe, and we'll see you next time.